This is kind of surreal. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 48th episode of the show, Power Rangers Zeo, as well as the 203rd episode overall, titled Rangers of Two Worlds Part 2. We begin this episode with Billy still flying around in the Zeo Megazord trying to get back in control. The others are watching Old Man Billy on the viewing globe concerned. Adam says they have to teleport him out of there, but the teleporter is still down. Then the Zeo Megazord lands going nuts. Tommy does something with the console and Alpha says he still can't get to Billy. Delphine says they need to use something else, so they call it the Super Zeo Megazord and the Rangers back to action. The Super Zeo Megazord then tries to hold the Zeo Megazord back and Sestro gets pissed, hitting the console. Somehow this works and Billy has been teleported back to the power chamber. Now the cog changer is in the cockpit of the Zeo Megazord? Somehow? I mean, I guess, was he part of that cog? I don't know. Jason warns Tommy about what's going on and the two Megazords start battling with one another. Alpha says that Billy's aging has accelerated even more and he will reach 100 years of age in an hour. Meanwhile, Rita is watching this and she's pissed that Mondo is going to be the one that gets to kill the Power Rangers. However, Finster has found the impersonator and he has an idea of how to get her back. He uses something which just makes the monster show up in the cockpit of the Super Zeo Megazord. Then the monster takes control of the Megazord and now the two Megazords are fighting each other. Meanwhile, Stone is giving Bulk and Skull their tests for their detective licenses. He leaves saying he'll be back in an hour. Then Bulk and Skull hear the alarm going off and they think that it's a test to see if they can handle this situation under fire. Zordon tells Jason that he needs to call out Oryx, so Jason backs to action. He meets up with the others and they call out Oryx the Conqueror, who rises from the ground and opens up standing. The Rangers explain how they need his help to stop the monsters and the Megazords, and Oryx says that he'll handle this. He goes over to the Megazords and he tries to talk sense into the monsters, telling them to be more fair to the citizens of Angel Grove. But then they just start hitting him and then something happens that scares Oryx back into his tiki form. What a waste of my time. Kat says that she can't see how things could get any worse. Oh, you stupid bitch. Then Mondo sends down Cogs to handle the Rangers and they surround them. Luckily, the Rangers are doing pretty well against the Cogs. I guess those super Cogs are just gone now or whatever. Tommy says that they should return to the power chamber. Bulk and Skull are impressed with how good the test givers are at giving a realistic attack. Also, the Rangers are in the power chamber and the Equations explain that on Aquitar they have something called the Eternal Falls, much like the Fountain of Youth. They don't know how it will affect a human, but they have to take Billy there. Delphine then says that the impersonator is actually pretty easily distracted. Kat has a plan. Tommy, Rocky, and Adam then show up calling out to the monster. Then she comes out of the Megazord and then Rita just pulls her back screaming at her. Apparently this worked, so Tommy, Rocky, and Adam get back in the Super Zeo Megazord. That was the worst resolution to one problem ever. Then Kat and Tanya go into the Zeo Megazord, destroying the evil gear. Then they take back control of the Zeo Megazord. I mean, at least they didn't need a man's help to do this. In the power chamber, another Equation is there flirting with Billy. She has water from the Eternal Falls. She gives the bottle to Billy and he drinks some of it and it starts to work, but it's not enough. Alpha recommends that they send Billy back to Aquitar for long-term doses to fix him. Also, this girl's name is Sestria. Then Billy says he has to go and tells Jason to tell the others that he had to leave. Finster tells Rita and Zed how Mondo was attacking the Rangers with a big army, and Rita makes sure that her monster is ready to go back to action. The alarms go off in the power chamber and the Equations say that they're going to help out as well. It's Morphin time! All of the Zeo and Alien Rangers are now together, and it looks like Impersonator and Cogchanger are working together with an army of Cogs. They have the Cogs go forward, and the two Ranger teams fight off the Cogs. This is a really cool battle just to see the Alien Rangers back in action because their fighting styles are so cool. I mean, I say that, but then Sestro creates a lame waterfall attack. Then the Alien Rangers cross their swords, firing at Impersonator, blowing her up. Then the Rangers use the Zeo cannon, killing the Cogchanger. Orbis and Clank make Cogchanger grow giant, and Rita and Zed then make the Impersonator giant as well. Tommy tells the Alien Rangers to stay with Jason and finish off the Cogs. I guess, whatever, they just call it their Super Zeo Megazord. The individual Zords then fight against the two giant monsters using their giant versions of the laser pistols. Then Adam is underwater again for no reason whatsoever, finding Impersonator down there. He brings her back to the surface. They've also used their giant power weapons to fire at the monster. Sprocket gets the idea to just combine the two monsters, and they do just that. The Rangers formed the Super Zeo Megazord to handle this situation. I feel like they could have done that from the start. Tommy says they have to go to full power right away, and they call it the Super Zeo Megazord Saber, and they use it against the new monster. Then they call it the Red Battlezord and the Zeo Megazord before Tommy calls out for the Warrior Wheel 2. My god, we get it, guys. They toss a Warrior Wheel around the monster over and over again, and somehow this creates an energy tornado that knocks it down. They then just use the Warrior Wheel, killing the monster. I feel like we didn't need everything else then. Jason and the Alien Rangers celebrate from the ground before the Rangers come out of their respective Megazords, and the Rangers shake hands. At the youth center, Bulk and Skull are eating ice cream and Stone has the results of their exams. They both pass, but only because they got extra points for completing the exam during an actual monster attack. They realize that the attack was real and they pass out into their ice cream. The Rangers get a message from Aquitar, and Billy's planning on staying on Aquitar because he finally found someone he can relate to. He wants to stay with Sestria and the others are happy for him, but they will miss him. The end. Over the credits, we get a montage of Billy spanning from season 1 to now. Ooh, this makes me emotional. Man, oh man, this is one tough one to get through and pull apart. Let's just start with the content of the episode itself. I mean, it's whiplash inducing and it uses some great footage. I just like seeing the two sets of Rangers team up. Bringing back the Alien Rangers for this exact moment also helped their storyline for the removal of Billy from the franchise. It also actually gives some background information on what Billy was doing when he was on Aquitar earlier in the season. It's nice to see that he met other people than just the Alien Rangers. Overall, I think they did their best with the circumstances that they had. So yeah, Billy is the final of the original 5 to leave the television show. I mean, God, it's weird, but let me talk a little bit about why he left. It wasn't like the others where he was arguing for more pay or even truly wanted to leave. David Yost has stated that he's left this show simply by walking off the set one day during their lunch and he just never returned. Nowadays, it's commonly known that David Yost identifies as a gay man, but back then he was going through a journey to find his own sexuality and to come to terms with who he was. Apparently there was crew members and no co-stars as far as I'm aware of that repeatedly called David Yost a faggot while on set, and they made constant jokes about his sexuality, alluding to the fact that if he were indeed gay, he wasn't worthy of being a superhero. This led to David Yost leaving and having a mental breakdown. He eventually went to a program shortly after the show to pray the gay away, and obviously it didn't work. He luckily came out of the suicidal episode on the other side, slowly accepting who he was, and thank God for it. As a gay man myself, this speaks volumes to me, but not necessarily how the show was made or anything. I mean, you have to remember that this was 1996, and frankly, this just shows how far we've come as a society in just 22 years. Nowadays, if something happened like this, it would be national news and the show would probably be boycotted. Back then, it was a lot more socially acceptable to question someone's sexuality and frankly be a complete dick about it like it was anyone else's business except for David Yost. It's a true shame, but thank God we didn't lose David Yost to suicide because his story has surely inspired many people around the globe after the fact. He's now a well-known personality in the television convention circuit, as well as a human rights and equal rights activist who has actually done some amazing things for this fandom. Also, he's still pretty close to pretty much every single member of the cast that he worked with. I don't think a single person from Austin St. John all the way to Nakia Burrese has ever said a bad thing about the guy. So yeah, Billy is gone, and while I want to say that I'm frustrated because it was so wrong behind the scenes, I'm glad David Yost left and went on the path that he did just to stay alive. It was more important than this television show. Okay, so that was a downer, but it is what it is. But next time we'll find out that something is going on with Jason. But until then, may the power protect you.